The 16th of January 1809, a sun rises over a North Spanish town, soon to be famous throughout history as La Corunna. Here the British, after months of being driven back by Marshal Soult's forces, make a stand against the pursuing French as they desperately try and evacuate their forces across the Bay of Biscay and back to England. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This is the first battle report of 2022 and it's a classic matchup of the French versus the British. Now it's slightly different because in this one the French are in ascendancy. We are in 1809 and the British are being chased out of the peninsula by Marshal Soult's corps. The Napoleon has launched his excellent campaign, which he kind of brought about himself by messing up and creating the May uprising, but eventually the Allies have been forced out of Spain, and at a small port, La Corunna, in northern Spain, the French are closing in as the British desperately try and evacuate. Today we are fighting only a portion of the battle. We're looking at Mermet's corps, and he's going to be going up against Lieutenant General Baird's British. So let's see what we've got. We start off on the right-hand side. We've got a battalion of light infantry, of légers, that is made up of two medium-sized battalions and one small one at the back, that 18-man unit. Next to them, we've got the Swiss. Now, those of you who've been following the channel will see that I've done a video on the Swiss. Another one coming soon. We've got two battalions there as well. They're going to count as veteran. They will be Elite 5+ for this one. And they're both large units. Next to them, we've got another the first of our two line regiments. This one, two battalions. One of medium, one of large, and the next then we've got our large regiment, two large battalions and a medium battalion, and they're led by their French general there. Then on the end we've got D'Outepol's Dragoon Corps, so we've got three medium regiments of dragoons there, and they'll be sweeping in as reserves. They won't be starting on the table. And in front of those we've got some awesome artillery. Now for this battle, this is the debut of my new model. This is General Junot. He wasn't actually at the battle, but I've just finished painting him and I wanted to use him because he's such a cool model. So, as always with these battles, it's not going to be the exact order of battle. We've had to twiddle them a little bit to match our figure collection, and with that we come over to the British. So at the back we've got a large battalion of the Grenadier Guards, and behind them are the Argyll and Southern Highlanders. Now in reality it was a second battalion of Grenadier Guards formed their brigade, but I don't actually have two battalions of Grenadier Guards. In fact, I can't even find the King's colour for the one battalion I do have, so I'll have to search for that one day. So, in front of those, we've got a brigade of two battalions. General Dan was very keen to use my French dragoon, carrying the Russian standard as the general. I didn't bring enough generals. I don't know why he particularly wanted him, but he did. So we get to see him on the tabletop. That'll confuse you. Coming under General Disney, which is one of the best names ever, we've got these two battalions here. These are going to be marching to the sound of the guns. Speaking of guns, we've got a battery here, and we've got some light dragoons in the background there. Now, in the actual battle, the light dragoons weren't there. They were already embarked on the ships. But because I'm screwing General Dan over a little bit by reducing the number of forces, I thought I'd add those in. Also, it allows a little bit more of a three-dimensional battle to have that third leg of the stool, to have the cavalry involved. So those are the two armies, the British versus the French. There's a lot more French than there are British, so let's see how it goes when we look at the deployment. So here we are behind the British position. Now behind here is basically the town of Corunna, where the British are busily embarking on their transports. What happened was the British were embarking to leave. The cavalry were embarked first because horses are obviously quite difficult to get on a boat. And then Marshal Soult's troops, which you can see at the far side there, they appeared over the hill. Quite why there weren't any British pickets out, I'm not entirely sure. But remember, this is 1809. This is not the period of Wellington's well-oiled machine. These guys were under Sir John Moore, an excellent general in of himself, and a very early innovator of light infantry tactics. But they weren't the army that they were later to be in 1812. So maybe that explains it a little bit. But so Marshal Soult's troops come over the hill. Now what they're looking for, their mission in this is to storm over the stream here, crash into the British lines, and then make their way over the crest of the hill so that they can go on and fall on the town of Corunna. Over again in the distance, the British ships are loading up. If we were fighting another part of the battle, there's a chance that they'd be able to fire on the French, but this is where the main thrust takes place. Down the valley on the right-hand side, as the British look at it, that's where de Uutpol's dragoons are going to be appearing, and down the valley here, that's where the British Light Dragoons and their reserve brigade, which consist of, by the looks of it, the 33rd and the King O's, I think. Yes, it is the King O's. They'll be marching down that road there. We've got the small town, I think it's called Elvirus here, so that'll be a good staging point for the French. And we've got the mini Grand battery on the hill there. Let me zoom in on that. There we are. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the batteries. Do you want to count them as 2 guns to 1 battery or 1 gun battery, Dan? I'll let you decide. So he wants 1 gun battery. So the French have got 4 batteries up there. The British have 2 to fire back with. I think he's fancying his chance of disordering the French as they attack. But we're going to have turn 1 here. Let's see, the French are going to probably go first, and we'll see how we go. As you can see, I've really planned this down to the niche. In fact, no, we'll let the British go first. The French have streamed over the top of the hill, and then the British will be able to open fire and manoeuvre their troops first. We're not going to have any reserves until at least turn 3, and then we'll take it from there. We'll be rolling for them as normal. I should say, all commanders here are going to be strategy rating 7. And both sides will have their general reroll, even though there's not a British commander on the table, because I don't have a Sir John Moore model. I don't even know if anyone does a Sir John Moore model. I'm sure someone does. If you know, then let me know in the comments down below. So that's deployment. I'll be back at the end of turn 1. Welcome to the end of the first turn, and it was not a hugely active one for the British, although they shuffled their troops around to get in a better position. I think a wise move from General Dan there. The French, however, wasted no time. They stormed forward, and I didn't try and move the large regiment of infantry at the back there, because due to my awesome tactical amazingness, I realised if I did, then I'd block the artillery, because I put them in the wrong place. So, yes, no, they didn't move. But the Swiss stormed across the river, so we played that this river was the same as we normally do. It was 1 move to the edge of the river, 1 move over, and then move off another one. They rolled a 3, so they absolutely leapt over the river. So obviously using their strong Swiss thighs from climbing all those mountains, they just jumped over the river, no problem at all. There's actually a little bit of a ford on that river section as well, so maybe that played a part, I'm not quite sure. But the artillery opened fire on the Grenadier Guards, inflicting 1 hit. Now, they are a large regiment. They normally have a stamina of 4. They are large, so they've got +1 to that, so they've actually got a stamina of 5. And that means that they are now down to 4. I've got a long way to go before I can start making those guys run away. But it's a good start from the French. Let's see how it goes on turn 2. Coming at you from a different angle this time, that's the end of turn 2, and the French have stormed forward even further. The British, of course, went first, and they finally finished forming their line, so that's going to be something quite scary for the French to break through, I think. The French, on the other hand, they advanced towards a small stream. They occupied the church, and there in the distance we can see, let's get a cheeky zoom in on them, there we go. Oh, I feel like a proper director there. On the far side of that hill, the 2 battalions of Swiss are coming around in a flanking manoeuvre. Again, the artillery opened up on the Guard. They inflicted 2 casualties, but General Dan managed to save 1 of them. However, they are disordered. The musketry here, I got 4 hits, I think, no, 3 hits on the British line, and he rolled a 6 to save every single one of them. So hopefully he's rolling his 6s out early. But that's the end of turn 2. The situation as it stands, it's looking pretty good for the French, dare I say it. But let's see how it goes, because the British have taken a quarter turn to their left, and they're about to deliver a thunderous volley into those French lines. So that's the end of turn 3, and the British had their reinforcements come on up on the hill. The 33rd and the 4th Regiment of Foot have come on there. The French stormed over that small river into combat here with the Jocks. There were once 2 French battalions, but one of them, the large one, was disordered as it charged in, and they lost the combat by 1, rolling a 4. and they exploded. The battalion next to them managed to fight on bravely, though. The Swiss have entered the forest here. They are now in skirmish order, and they fired aimed shots down at the grenadiers there, causing another point of damage. They've only got 2 left before they become shaken. The artillery on the hill, they fired, didn't really do anything. General Dan's artillery fired, did absolutely nothing, did even worse than mine, despite rolling 2 dice for each gun. And the fight in the village started, but the light infantry battalion didn't quite make it to combat. So that's it for the end of turn 3. The French dragoons didn't make an appearance. The large regiment of infantry advanced towards the small rivulet, I'm going to call it. But yeah, so that was where the 2 sides began to clash. Let's see how turn 4 shakes out as the fire starts in earnest. So here at the end of turn 4, the French have continued to press, and they've been met with massive success. That gap there used to be a battalion of Highlanders who were seen off and then pursued and destroyed by that battalion of French infantry. So the French are now at the top of the hill. They can look down over to the port of Le Corunna and see the British loading their wagons and all that kind of stuff. But the battle isn't completely won yet. We're going to carry on fighting because the British Guard managed to roll 2 6s for their saves in this turn, which is rather upsetting. They're trading fire with the Swiss up in the woods there, but the Light Dragoons have yet to come on. Will the Light Dragoons be able to stop the French steamroller? The Guard are facing down 3 battalions of French infantry here. So let's see. They've also got some artillery. It's still not an easy proposition for the French. Over here in the village, the Highlanders destroyed... they pushed back the battalion of light infantry here. Their general rallied a point of point of stamina off them, sorry. So they're now down to 2. This small battalion charged forth against the Black Watch and defeated them in combat, but not enough to see them break and flee. It was actually a draw due to the support that the Scots had, but because they were already shaken, they had an excess casualty, so they had to test. But rolling an 8, they continue to fight. So that's the end of turn 4. We're going to go into turn 5 now. The Light Dragoons are going to be rolled for. Can they make the difference? Well, let's find out in turn 5. Before we go into turn 5, what I forgot to mention, I can't believe I forgot to mention this, is here died the supreme British commander, General Picton in this case. He was run over by the French infantry battalion. We rolled a dice to see if he would be captured and killed, and 1 dice roll of a 6 later, and he died. That takes my senior commander kills to 2 from 2 so far. It's going pretty well for me, but General Dan, less amused by this situation than I am, but I think it's great. So we're cutting in live into turn 5 here, as the Grenadier Guards have countercharged the French as they charged in. Now they're a large battalion, so they're going to be rolling 8 dice. They're hitting me on 3s. General Dan has bought this rather excellent dice tray. He's going to roll these dice now. He's going to roll. Oh, it's not bad. It's not bad. He's got 5 hits on me there. So this is a large French battalion. So can they take the punch? Let's find out. Ugh, no, they can't. They failed 3. They are in column, so they've got a 3+ save. But that means that they are at their stamina. Have we got a 4 counter? I'm going to use a British one for now. Very naughty, but there we go. Now the French are attacking back. They normally have 6 dice, but they are a large battalion. So let's have 2 more cheeky boys in there. They also need 3s because these guys did charge. They weren't shaken with the British closing fire. So that's 6 hits. Now the British Guard, they have a 3+ save, the same as the French. Let's see if they can roll as spectacularly badly as I did. Yes, is the answer. They take 3 as well. Now the Guard, they only have 2 stamina left, so they are now shaken. So we're both shaken, but let's see who won the combat. Well, we took 3 casualties each. The Guards are not supported. The French are supported to one flank and the rear. So the British win. Now the British Guard... the French win. Sorry, thank you, Dan. The British Guard have got 1 excess casualty now, so they're going to roll their morale test to -1. They roll an 8, which means they continue fighting. So, a valiant charge from the French, a heroic combat from the British, and the red line buckles, but it does not break. So that's the end of turn 5, and it was a momentous turn. We cut in to see the live action of the Guard versus that large French battalion, both units being shaken. That was pretty extreme. Also, though, in a mighty display of martial prowess, the French infantry managed to charge the rear of the artillery and do no casualties, which meant that the combat was a draw, and the artillery stood their ground and carried on fighting. That French infantry battalion might be in quite a lot of trouble because there's a British light dragoon regiment ready to charge them in the rear. Over here, the Swiss, they continued their skirmish war with the 33rd and the Kingos. Nothing really happened over there. And on the hill, the artillery were out of range. I should probably get rid of that smoke. The troops in the village caused 1 casualty on the British, but that was it. So, not a massive turn, that one. The French dragoons did not turn up. They've obviously found themselves a farm somewhere with an attractive young farmer's daughter, and it's keeping them from enjoying the clash with the British. But here we are. So that's the end of turn 5. Let's see how it goes into turn 6. It could be now the British are about to turn it round. The French are getting a little bit thin in numbers. Let's see how it goes. So that's the end of the game, and I'm going to call it a winning draw, I think would be a fair result for the French there. They did manage to break through the British lines, but they were cleared out by some British cavalry reserves. That said, the French cavalry is completely unscathed, and the British are suffering really, really heavily. We have this combat here. Now, both of the Swiss and the British are shaken, so that's probably a draw. Over here, we've got 2 British battalions, and they're up against 3 French battalions, although one of them is small. So, unshaken, yeah, no, that's a fair point, Dan, although I forgot to roll for them. Let's see if they're still shaken. Yes, they are still shaken. And we've got a battalion in the middle there. They're sort of floating about a little bit. But I'm going to say, I think Dan would probably agree that a winning draw for the French would be reasonable. I think a tactical victory. The French hold the field, but they don't have the strength they would need to continue the pursuit and go into Corunna itself and stop the evacuation of the British. So, a hard-fought draw with a slight advantage to the French there. I'm going to do an after-action report at the end of this. We're getting to late in the night. I need to start packing away. But thank you so much for watching so far, and I'll be back. I mean, for you guys, it'll be straight away, but for me, it'll probably be tomorrow when I do the after-action report. So, for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a bit.